The Sikha that we will be learning now is in Likutei Sichos, Chelik Chavtes, Parshas Vayelech. Even Posik Meya ve'esim shon aneich hayem, Moshe Rabbeinu said, I am today 120 years old. Leyuchal eid lotzes v'love. I cannot go out and come in anymore. Zogen Chazal, so the Chachamim in the Gemara say to say, Ados meint nit lotzes v'love mamish, baltoshas kecha. Doesn't mean I can't go out and come in. That means I can't walk because I'm weak. You're 120 years old, so you get weak. Doesn't mean that. Nor lotzes v'love b'dibur Torah. I cannot go out and come in the words of Torah. What does that mean? Malamed, it means, it teaches us, shenistatmu mimenu sharei chochmeh, that the gates of chochmeh were stuffed up, were closed up by Moshe Rabbeinu. So that's what it means. I cannot go out and come in the divrei Torah. It means I cannot discuss. I cannot teach Torah, so to speak. That's what it means. Go out and come in the Torah means I cannot have a shakal b'Torah, I cannot discuss divrei Torah. And the Lashon is, in Gemara, that what got closed by him? The gates of chochmeh, the gates of wisdom. The Maimah wird gebracht in Pirish Rashi ala Torah. This statement of the Chachamim is brought also in Rashi. Nor b'shina loshen. It's a different expression. Anshtot shari chochmeh, instead of saying that the gates of chochmeh were stuffed up, is loshen Rashi. The loshen Rashi is what got stuffed up? Meseires u'mayones hachochmeh. Meseires means the Torah that was given over. That's simple pshat. Rabbi will explain what it means, but simple pshat. The Torah was given to us. Umayonis is the well springs. So the Meseires and the well springs of Chochmeh were closed up. So it's not the same lotion as in the Gemara. In the Gemara it says what was closed up? The gates of Chochmeh. Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi says what was closed up? The Meseires, the handing down the tradition of the Chochmeh, and the Mayonis, the well springs of Chochmeh. In ein Yanke, but there is a bekammer sheni vegebrach the gears in Gemara, Mayonis anstatt Shor. Now, one of the differences between Rashi, Loshen, and Gemara is Rashi. Gemara says the word shari. Besides the word chochmah, it says shari chochmah. Rashi doesn't say shari chochmah. Rashi says meseires menas chochmah. Now, in Yankiv, there's a girsa in Gemara that the Gemara also says mayonis. What was closed up mayonis? Anshtot shari instead of shari, the gates. Well, in Tanchume Pasha Vaschanin is a girsa meseires chochmah. In Tanchume Medrash Pasha Vaschanin, the version is, the girsa is Meseires Chochmeh. So what happens here is we see Rashi uses the two words Meseires and Mayones. So the word Mayones he takes from the Gemara, the way the Girs is in the Yaakov. The word Mayones, the word Meseires he takes from the word Mayones he takes from the way it's in Gemara, and the word Meseires he takes from the way it's in Medrash Tanchume. So Rashi does have a source for his expressions. So maybe that's why Rashi does it. He has the Girsa in Gemara 1. The Girsa is not Shari Chochmeh, but Mayonis Chochmeh, and it takes from the Medrash. But if I was bringing it Rashi, the Girsa Revacha Shari Chochmeh. But first of all, we have to know that's not the accepted version. The accepted version in Gemara is Shari Chochmeh. So why would Rashi pick according to a certain change the way it's in Yaakov? In Yaakov was for Rashi. But the person of Yaakov had the Girsa in Gemara, but it's not the common one. So why would Rashi change? Is eight week besides that, we don't find anywhere in the Chazal they should bring the two expressions together. Meseires and Mayonis. Or also Eich nit Meseires Shari. When Rashi is Mitzarav Beida, Girsoy Tzazamen. Rashi connects the two. He takes one from one place and one from another, but we don't find anywhere that the two go together. And Rashi puts the two together. So we have to understand why would Rashi take something different than what the Chazal said. For what purpose? Obviously, Rashi holds that in Derech HaPshat, that's the Derech of Rashi, these are the words that have to do with the Pshat. Why are these two words? When we see in Chazal, it's different. And in Order 18, the Rebbe says, the Taka in the first and second print of Rashi and many manuscripts of someone who have written not Rashi's Ksav, but it's written, Taka says, Meseires HaChochmeh, and sometimes it says, Mainas HaChochmeh, but in most prints of Rashi, it's the way we have it, that Rashi says that what was stuffed up, the Rashi says, it was stuffed up Meseires and Mayones HaChochmeh. So the Shai is, why did Rashi do that? Eiches need to move and also not understood. We get come upon the Rebbe says the way I said many times is nicht in Yonif from Pirish Rashi al Teire. So my take is Rosh Chazal b'di Eglashena. Bechlal Rashi is not limited to quote what the Chachamim say, the Chazal say, in the exact wording of what they say. Rasha, even when he quotes from the Chachamim, he quotes it in a way that fits to the pshat of the pasuk. So Rasha is not limited. So in that case, in our case, Farvos bringt Rasha dem Loshe Mercedes Men's Chochma. Forget about the source where he gets it from. Why does Rasha write the word Mercedes Mench? Even if we'd find in Chazal that we would find these two expressions together. So then you could say the reason Rasha writes it because that's what the Chazal say. That's not true. But why does Rasha bring it? Why doesn't he say the simple words? As Rasha himself starts off, when he says this comment, he says, Lotzes velove means bedivre Torah, to go out in words of Torah. So what should he have said? That what got stuffed up? Memenu divre Torah, that words of Torah got closed, got covered up, got stuffed up. Why does he say it's a strange word? What got stuffed up? The Messiahs and the Mayonis Achoch. Should have said different Torah got stuffed. The Shleimer Rebbe could say the pshat like this: As Rasha bavon demit ashayt pshuter. Rasha answers a very simple question, and belosh neilam aklotz kasha. The way the world uses the expression aklotz kasha. Klotz is a hard piece of wood. So aklotz kasha means a very strong kasha. Now the Rebbe uses it different than the world. The world uses it as a, say, you're asking a very strong kasha, but we use the word that's really not a good kasha. You start thinking, you see the whole kasha doesn't make sense, even though it sounds very strong. But the Rebbe uses it different. The Rebbe uses aklotz kasha means a strong kasha, but a very simple kasha, something, a kasha that's open, that's warfsach in the egen, that's in front of your eyes, you see this kasha. That's what the Rebbe calls a klotz kasha. Here we have a very simple kasha, which is a klotz kasha, and the Rebbe says, I didn't find anybody who asks that question. What's the question? How could the pasuk say that? Moshe Rabbeinu said, I cannot go out and come in anymore in words of Torah, which means I cannot teach Torah anymore. Right after that, Moshe gave over to Yidden many things of Torah. The drei sedres, Vayelech, Hazinu, V'zei. All the next three sedres are all words of Torah that Moshe said. So how could he say that now I'm stuffed up, my mind is closed of Torah, I can't speak Torah, and then he goes on and says three sedres. Or Norba negate the last 8 psukim for Torah, but only concerning the last 8 psukim of the Torah in Parshas Brocha at the end. Was Hey Mizichon mit Yamas Moshe starts, Moshe starts off with the words Moshe died and goes on from what Moshe died. Then gefindt man zwei Deas, there we find two opinions. Via Rob gebracht Rasha brings it. Gemara in Baba Basra brings that we find two opinions who wrote those 8 psukim. See, Yeshua had geschrieben, if Yeshua wrote them, or Moshe kesed with them, or Moshe wrote it with tears. So there is a svara that it was not Moshe, it was Yeshua, and that's not what Moshe wrote. And the Rebbe Nora says, even when the Gemara says that it was Moshe wrote it, it's only he wrote, we don't know if he said it or not. But that's not the Geya. The bottom line is that only these 8 psukim is a possibility that Moshe didn't say it. But concerning Parsha, most of the whole Parsha Vayelech, Hazinu and Brocha, till the last 8 psukim, is less man the Palik as Moshe. No one argues. Everyone agrees that Moshe said it, and Moshe wrote it. So how does Moshe say, I can't speak the Torah? And then he goes on speaking 3 parshas, 3 seders of the Torah. We can't answer that Divrei Torah wird gemeint place in Yon Halacha. You can't say when he said I can't speak Divrei Torah means halachas of Torah. Not true. You might think so. Right? The Rebbe 16 says the Balaturim uses the lotion Shisha Sidra Mishnah can't speak. So you might think it means that you can't speak Divrei Halacha. Can't say that. So when Rashi says that he said I can't speak Divrei Torah, doesn't mean the parashas of Chumash. It's strange to say that when you say I can't speak Divrei Torah, doesn't mean 3 sedres of Torah shebeksav of the written Torah. That's not Divrei Torah. When he says I can't speak Divrei Torah, means all of Torah. I can't speak anything, it seems like. Now we're saying, no, he only meant I can't speak halacha, but Chumash is not included in Divrei Torah. It's very hard to say that. It's very big. Besides that, and the more important question, so in these parshas halachas. In these 3 sedres, we find halachas also. Mitzvahs Hakel, the mitzvah that after Sukkot, the year after Shemitah, you have to come to Beis Hamikdash, and the kings reach the Torah, Ksiva Sevetera means of writing a Sevetera, but Ada more. So we do have halachas here too. So you can't say that the reason that what he meant was I can't speak halacha, but Chumash I could still continue. That doesn't make sense. Noch more than that. Jeder Wort von Teresh B'Ksav gegeben geworden zu Moshe mit seinem Perish und Teresh Balpeh. Every word of Teresh B'Ksav was given to Moshe Rabbeinu, not only the word themselves and the oral Torah. That means everything that was given to Moshe in the Psukim, the Eibush gave it to him together and also told him the Teresh Balpeh, all the oral things that the Eibush said. And it's a simple thing. In Derech HaPshat also, warum dafke durch dem kann man wissen, kloide Kavanah von Teresh B'Ksav. Teresh B'Ksav can move in Pashta. Because only if you have the Teresh Balpeh in these Psukim, you could understand what Teresh B'Ksav means. He brings from Ageras HaKedesh in order 22. For instance, if you read a pasuk, "Kshartem leisal yadecha," you should tie them on your hands. What does it mean? Who knows what it means? Teresh B'Peh, the Eibishter, explained it to him. So when the Eibishter gave him the Torah, and he gave the Torah over to the Eden, so there are certain parts he wrote, but together with that, he gave over also the Pshat. I said this, Vayelech Hazina Brochas an Ibri gegeben geworden zu den Eden durch Moshe Rabbeinu, since these three sedres. Vayelech Hazina Brocha were also given to the Eden. Through Moshe, hat doch sei gewiss, Ibri gegeben, als was is Muchrich Lavonas Parashas Seila. So for sure, when he gave him these parashas, he gave it together with Teresh Balpeh of these parashas. Das heißt, den Pirush from the parasha and Teresh Balpeh, also the Pshat. So even if we're going to say that Teresh B'Ksav is not included, that when he said I can't speak different Torah, it doesn't mean Teresh B'Ksav is still could pay. There's no such thing as saying Teresh B'Ksav only, because everything in Teresh B'Ksav has a Pirush which was given up when he said the Teresh B'Ksav. He gave over Teresh Balpeh. So when he said these three seders, he didn't only say that what's written, the words. He said all the explanations that go along. Is wie kann man sagen, how could you say I can't go out, I can't speak the Torah? And you can't answer, I can't speak halachas. So first of all, it doesn't fit. But besides that, what do you mean can't speak? The halachas have Teresh Balpeh, so you had to add to what's written in Chumash. And he gave it to them. If he told them these psukim of these three seders, he told them the pshat also. So how do you say I can't speak any more different Torah? The Leib is Rasha Meisi. So to answer that kasha, Rasha edge, what got close from him? Meseirus, which is tradition. I'm just translating the word, and we'll see the pshat. And the well springs of Chochmeh. Wenn die Gehe die zwei Unionen, Meseirus und Mayonas Chochmeh, scheich zu sagen, als sie seien nicht nichlo geworden in der Divrei Torah, was Moshe Rabbeinu gelernt mit den Eden, the seders. Only these two types of things you could say is not included in what Moshe taught them, these three seders. As the Rebbe could have a comment, like the Rebbe will explain, that the Meseirus, Hitake didn't give him. Mayones HaChochmeh didn't give him. We have to know what that means. He didn't give. He told him to say this. So Rasha specifically does not say he was stuffed up. He couldn't speak Divrei Torah. He spoke Divrei Torah. He spoke all these parashas. Certain specific parts of Torah he couldn't tell him, and that's the Meseirus Mayon HaChochmeh. Why? What does that mean? So the Rebbe teaches like that. The teach from word Meseirus is, what is the word Meseirus? Meseirus means tradition, what was given over, handed down. Means the those things that were told to Moshe orally. Mainly it means there are certain things that are halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai means that certain things are not written in the Torah at all. Just an example. It says that we know that the ritzuos of the tefillin have to be black. All other inyonim, a lot of inyonim in the tefillin is learned out from a limit from the words, or a lot of dinim in the Torah. Most dinim in the Torah are learned out from a Kal V'Chaimer Exeter Shavit, but they're all learned out from the words. The fact that the ritzuos have to be black, or that the corners there has to be a clear square, that's halacha mishpat. There's no hint in the Torah for it. It was orally given by Hashem to Moshe. So Meseirus goes on these things that were given orally, Balpeh, to Moshe Rabbeinu. Und wie die Gemara sagt, the Gemara says, by Ha'ara 24, the Rebbe brings from Pirush HaMashnai. Pirush HaMashnai, the Rambam says, Halocha Moshe Messinai, most of them, Ein Lom Shum Rembes B'Mikra, they have no hint in the Torah. So that's Meseirus, that's something that's handed down from generation to generation. With the Gemara sagt, the Gemara says in Gittin, Torah Reib B'Ksav Miyit Alpeh, most of the Torah was written, the majority, the minority was orally. Doesn't mean Kipshute, that mostly is Teresh B'Ksav and Teresh Balpeh is the least. It's not true. Torah Sheba'al Peh is a million times more than Torah Shebiksav. Torah Shebiksav is just whatever is written Chumash, or you could count Tanakh if you want to. It's part of that Torah Shebiksav. But how much Torah Sheba'al Peh do we have? Thousands upon thousands of Svarim. So Rasha says, Rasha explains, when it says Torah is Reiv Biksav, mostly written means Reiv HaTorah Tluya B'Medrash. That most of the Torah depends on how we darshan, Midrash HaTorah Nidreshes, and how we use the rules Hashem gave, how we darshan the Psukim. So that's called Biksav. It's all part of the Ksav. Umiyuta al Peh, when it says the minority was Biksav, orally means She'ein Remes Lilmud Lo B'Torah Elo Meish Nemer al Peh. A little bit, the minority, a little bit is there that the Eibishter told Moshe Rabbeinu by heart. And there's no hint in the Torah. That's a little bit of Torah. But that is what Messiah means. So Messiah, we know, means what was handed down. So, B'Meila, what does that help? The Rebbe will explain it, but I just want to explain it right what it says now. That when Moshe Rabbeinu told him the three Seders afterwards, he told him the Seders, Seders Biksav, and the spot of Torah. Not only the Seders, he told him anything in Torah Sheba'al Peh which is connected to the Psukim, he definitely told him. Because when you tell the Psukim, you have to, Moshe had to tell him the pshat in it. So he told him. But the Messiahs, he didn't tell. Because Messiahs, that Yitaka got stuffed up. Messiahs was not there. So he didn't tell him. The whole kasha was, how could he say he couldn't teach Torah anymore when he taught them the next parshas? Hitaka taught him the next parshas. And all the Torah Sheba'al Peh of the next parshas. But anything that's only Torah, only Halacha L'Moshe Messina, that you didn't teach him. And that's not what it means. So when he said that got stuffed up, what got stuffed, what he couldn't teach, nothing to do with these three parshas. Other things, which is Halacha L'Moshe Messina. Then the second thing is Mayones HaChochma. What does the wellsprings of Chochma mean? Need the Gufi Halachas from Torah Sheba'al Peh. The wellspring is not an expression that we use for the halachas. Torah Sheba'al Peh explains the halachas. That's not what it means. Nor pilpul shel Torah, the pilpul of Torah. What's a pilpul? Pilpul, when you have a shaklavat, means a discussion and a question and an answer. That's not halacha. That's all pilpulim of the Torah. There is Torah Shebiksav, there is Torah Sheba'al Peh of telling us the halachas, and then there is a special category in Torah called pilpul. Pilpul deraisa, pilpul Torah. What's that is hinted at, that means the word mayonis. What's his bedugma mayon? That's like a well. Beloshna Mishnah mayna misgaber. The Mishnah says by somebody who is able to have a lot of pilpul, it says mayna misgaber, like a well that gets stronger and stronger. And there's no limit. It constantly gets stronger and stronger. Was to pilpula deraisa is nitokin gvul. To pilpulim of the Torah is no limit. There's a limit in halacha. But pilpulim in Torah, you could go and ask kashas and give answers and go on and on and on. I just want to say a word to the Baal Shem Tov, the Rebbe mentioned many times. The Rebbe doesn't say it in the Sirut. The Baal Shem Tov said, there's no kasha that I can't answer. There's no answer that I cannot ask a kasha on. So there's always more and more and more kashas upon trutzim. You could go on and on and on. Belosh Nakosov, like the Posuk says, Arucha me'eretz mido urchova miniyam, that it's longer, the Torah is longer than any measurement, and it's wider than the ocean. Ukanira b'chush. We actually see it. Pilpulim go on and on. Till today, there are more pilpulim given. Said there's no limit to it. That's Mayones Chochma. So that's what he said, that these things Moshe couldn't say. Und der Fun ist verstandig, we can understand very simply, as in the Divrei Torah was Moshe Rabbeinu gelernt bedienen, in the things of Torah that Moshe taught the Yidden. Afile in Pirusha von Torah Sheba'al Peh. Even he taught them Torah Shebiksav, would the Pirush Sheba'al Peh. Sei nicht geworden, blaze the Gufi Alochas so Pirushim for Torah Sheba'al Peh. But he taught them what it says, the Torah Shebiksav, the Alochas of Torah Sheba'al Peh that's connected to the Psukim, and all the explanation that I needed to know that. Aber nicht Pilpula deraisa, but Pilpula deraisa has no limit. So the Pilpul, Yitaka couldn't tell him. And that he didn't have to tell him. There was no need to tell him. That's something that's extra. So that he couldn't tell him. Certainly, according to what the Gemara says, as Pilpula deraisa lenitna lo Moshe l'zayra, that l'chatchila Deibishter gave Torah, the part of Torah, that aspect of Torah, which is called Pilpul, the Deibishter gave only to Moshe himself and his family, not to all the Yidden. Now Moshe, no, but they beside him, and Yisrael. Moshe was very nice about it, very generous about it, and he gave it to the Yidden too. So it means that he's moving from that. We certainly understand, as Eib Pilpul that I says under the Divrei Torah Shekiblu b'nei Yisrael for Moshe Adov Shalom, that without Pilpul, the Torah that they would receive from Moshe, Torah Shebiksav, Torah Shabbat, without people, is also considered a complete thing. Because it would have been possible that they even should not have him pulled that I said. Moshe did them a favor and he gave it to them. So we see that pilpul is an extra thing that's not part of what is supposed to be given. And that's the mayones. This short answers why it's no contradiction. As Alpha people needs to even though the Messiah and the wellspring of Chochmah, the tradition of Chochmah, which is we said Allah Sinai only, and the wellspring of Chochmah, which is the pilpul, how that's not a country. They were closed. Moshe lost. It was closed from him. For deswegen hat Moshe Rabbeinu übergegeben zu ihnen die drei Seders Bishlam Musa. Nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu was able to teach them the three Seders afterwards completely. Sai the Parsha Satzman Teresh B'Ksav, Sai Pirusha Teresh B'Peh, Pirusha B'Amish. That he told them Teresh B'Ksav, told them the Teresh B'Peh, the explanations of it, the explanation of the Psukim that's needed to know the Psukim. Weil die Messiahs, I'm in the Chatril, nicht verbunden mit Parsha Satzman. He didn't give him the Messiahs. Why? Messiahs are not connected. The Messiahs has nothing to do with the Psukim. So that's things which are separate. That has nothing to do with the Parshas. But that he didn't tell him. Itaka didn't tell him. It's no kasha. He told him all these Psukim. He told him the Psukim, but not any Messiahs. When the game Mayonas, the same thing on the second thing. He didn't teach him Mayonas. What's Mayonas? Pilpula that I say. Is nito kan hechrech as Moshe zal Muslim learn and the inyonim mit Bnei Yisrael. There's no reason he had to give him the pilpul. He could have given him maybe before, but now he couldn't. So there's nothing lacking. But by giving him the three parshas doesn't mean that it's a contradiction to the fact that he lost pilpul. Yes, at that day he couldn't say pilpul, and that's nothing to do with the parshas. The Farsh schreibt nicht Rashi bepshutish mit dem loschen shari chochma. That's why Rashi also doesn't use the word shari. The Gemara uses the word shari, the gates of chochma. Why? Because it has nothing to do. Rashi only uses something that has to do with the psukim. Rashi is explaining how it's possible that he lost Torah and nevertheless continued teaching the psukim. So that's answered by all he lost was Mesiris and Mayonis. What's the gay? Why would we say he lost Shari Chochma? How could so Rashi doesn't quote that? The Gemara says Gemara is not Pshuto Shel Mikra. For was Rashi is medayik to bring in the word Mayonis HaChochme. It's also answer why he says the wellsprings of Chochme, and he doesn't say the wellsprings of Torah. Lahadgish to stress, the Mayonis are not muchre for a from Torah. The Mayonis we're talking about is not things which have to do with Torah. What's Torah? Torah is Malashon Eirah, lesson. Torah is what to do. So whatever it was Shaykh's to do, he didn't lose because he told him more things later what to do. From Demel thought this Moshe gemus lernen mit Eden. If there were things that he had to do, he would have to tell him. So you can't say he lost Torah because anything of Torah that's a hero, that's something to do, he would have had to tell him. And how could you say he lost it? And he still was continuing. Nor says Adinya from Teisves Chochma Shebetera. Pilpul is Chochma Shebetera. Is not Torah, but it's a Chochma. It's a special wisdom, a special type of understanding. And that Take Moshe didn't tell him, but he didn't have to tell him. So it's possible he lost it, and he continued teaching Torah, but not the Pilpul. The Chur is aber noch niglatik, still not clear. The roof to verniest the momentum Mesiris Manas HaChochma kommt doch als Tam, this is that he said that the Mesiris and the Mayonis of Chochma got stuffed up is a reason why I cannot go out and come in words of Torah. What's meant? What does that mean? Neither limud latzman. It doesn't mean I can't learn. Going in and out means the limud in Bnei Yisrael. I can teach. That's what he said. So because this got stuffed up, because Mayonis, according to Rashi, the Mesiris got stuffed up, that's why I can't teach Torah. Is not moving, not understood. Bishlei when the game Mesiris is moving. Mele Mesiris, we understand. As Leib needs to mention the Mesiris from Torah, since by Moshe it was closed, can it get notice for love? Sein der welcher geht über Torah zu Eden. He can't give that level of Torah, he can't give to Eden, because he doesn't have it. While Eden müssen wissen the Mesiris, Eden have to know the Mesiris. It has nothing to do with these parshas, but Eden have to know. And if if only Mesiris, if by Moshe Rabbeinu the Mesiris were closed, we understand why lots of, what did he say? I can't go teach you. I can't teach you the Mesiris. So he's saying, yeah, why can't? Because it got close to me. So that's what he's saying. Eden have to know the Mesiris, and I can't teach the Mesiris. They're saying, so we understand what it has to do with teaching. He said, because he lost the Mesiris, he can't teach it anymore. Because the Mesiris you have to teach. But now I can't teach you. The other things I could say, and this not. So we understand the connection of Moshe Rabbeinu losing the Mesiris to the fact that he can't teach the Torah, meaning he can't teach the Messiahs. Because if he doesn't have it, he can't teach it. If he would have it, he would have to give it to them. But concerning the wellspring, which is pilpul, now since that is not a must, we said without pilpul is also you have the halachas, you know everything. Die passt es auch mit Sadem, was nicht der Moment, Mayonas Chochme, is a yuchay lotzis beloved seiden mit the Torah. Let's say, why can't I teach you? Because I lost the Mayonas. As if saying, if I wouldn't lose the Mayonas, I would teach it. But that's not true. Even if he would not lose the Mayonas, the pilpul, he didn't have to teach it anyway. Didn't have to teach it. We said before, this is something that is extra. It's more. So he wouldn't have to teach it. So why does he connect? It says, why can't I teach? It was because I lost it, meaning that otherwise I would teach it. Could be he wouldn't lose it and he still wouldn't teach it. See, by Messiah, if you wouldn't lose it, he would have to teach. Any Messiah that he could say, he has to give over. If he doesn't have it, he can't. But without it, he would say, here, even if he would have it, he didn't have to teach it. So why is he saying that I can't teach it? Losses love it means to teach because I don't have it. Even if you have it, you don't have to teach it. Maybe the pshat, the fact that he said I can't teach only meant from the first part. Lapel, he lost two things. He lost the Messiah at that day and the Mayonis. But the reason he says I can't teach it is only because the Messiah can be. If this fact that he lost the Chochmah, that the words says love has only to do with the Messiahs, so why did the Eibush Taka make he should lose the Mayonas Chochmah? What's the reason? But Gamtzli, was Darfas bringing, Rasha bringing, what is after Rasha bringing? When he said Layutze Lotzis Velove, has nothing to do with Mayonis. So why did Eibush take away the Mayonis? He could have taken away just the Messiah, and also he could have not teach. Also, why does Rashi have to mention it? Yes, Leib, the beer in them. You can say the explanation is like this: from them, Gufa was says geworden ist aber chelik mit Rasim. The fact that part of his level of Torah was closed, stuffed up. Apapi can sein as wollte nicht wahrscheinlich gewesen sein Sport even if it wouldn't be closed, it wouldn't change. He wouldn't tell him anyway because it's not something that you always have to tell. It's something extra. But the fact that he lost it is a simon that shows us as geendig sein Lotzis Velovet zu Bnei Yisrael. It shows that the time of him teaching is finished. Sein Messias, his being the leader and teaching Torah is finished. From the fact that there are certain parts that he lost, even though maybe he wouldn't tell him anyway. But that shows that I can't teach anymore. I'm not that leader anymore. Once he's gekommen, the Zeit for Yeshua zu werden, der Manik Yisrael, it came time for Yeshua to become the Manik. Actually, it's hinted in the Shachal HaTorah in Ha'ara 33 that he says, B'chol yem v'yem ha'yemei Vayelech. Every day he learned more and more. He's adding, and that day he's not adding anymore. Yoda should not limit in the shoes. He knew that the permission, the right went away from the authority, went away from him. Even though the way he's saying nothing was added, but he still had plenty from before. The fact that the change in his learning is different is a raya that he's already not in the same level. So the Rebbe says the same thing in what we're saying here. When he saw that a certain thing was taken away, and that's why Hashem took it away, to show him that now is not your time. But that showed, both things showed, aside the fact that the Messiah was taken away. But that's very simple. The Messiah was taken away. It means he can't tell. That it's not just, he can't teach anymore of that. Because otherwise he would have taught. But even something he might have not taught anyway. But the fact that it's taken away shows that he's now already in a different level. He lost that right. The case, the Rebbe says even deeper. So you do what Chazal sagen, we know what the Chachamim say. Arov gebracht the Pirish Rashi ala Teire brought down the Rashi. Apnei Meshe kecham apnei Yeshua kilavana. The face of Meshe was like the sun. The face of Yeshua was like the moon. Eine von den Chiluken zwischen Eir HaCham and Eir HaLavon is one of the differences in the light of the sun, the light of the moon is at the Eir HaLavon steht ständige Matze von Shinuyim, Aliyas v'Yeridas. The light of the moon is changing always. It goes up and down. The full moon, it shines and it doesn't shine. The light of the sun, there is no change. This is one of the reasons why Meshe is compared to the sun. We know the midah, the attribute of Meshe that presents Meshe is truth. And the Rebbe calls this in a Medrash, and also in Mashma Basra, that Meshe saw in the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman, the Emes says, Maro Emesro. It says Meshe, his midah is Emes. What's emes truth? Bilti shinoi. Truth means no change. There's a posting in the Rebbe brings out at 38, Sfas emes tikkun lot. Sfas emes means the edge of emes. Even the edge of emes lasts forever. And that's understood. Emes means nothing change. You can't change. 1 and 1 is 2 is emes. That can never change. You can't say, well, it used to be that way. It'll change. That is be'etzem truth. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the mid of emes, no changes. Azeh as in Eire shel Moshe is in Shaychas Kenin shel Shinu. In the light of Moshe can't change. That's why it's compared to the sun. But Yeshua is not like that. The Rebbe, therefore, because Moshe Rabbeinu der field as nistam mene mayones of Chochmah. Moshe felt the mayones of Chochmah is closed. Since geworden as stime v'shinu is einer, there was a close, a blockade in the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, even though something he wouldn't have taught anyway. But there's a blockade in his light, in his Torah. He does guf abavais as his ongerid geworden etzem mayones shalated. Shows that his light already was changed. The fact that he should teach Torah, even though we're not talking about a specific thing he should have taught, he wouldn't have taught it anyway, maybe. But the fact that change means it's not up to now, he can't teach anymore. When the Rebbe is genafko in Inyan, the welchen Inyan is geworden Tashino, Nistaman. It makes no difference in what Inyan the change happened. I feel Leib says, even if it's something that doesn't affect his influence, is affecting the Eden. Because he wouldn't have told anyway. The fact that there is a change, that proves that the time of changes came. That means not him, but the time for Yeshua came, the time for Yeshua, which his light is a light that's up to change it. That's what happened. So even though this is not something he would have told, he would have taught, but it shows that he's not going to teach anymore. For them, Inyan VC, but Rameshan, but Techairo and the Rabbi for Yadarin. The way is Ramesha, we can learn out a lesson for all Yin. For Mafapia Musa, Vezo, Ashar of Nibel Geshes, Lahasika, Philachelik, Echad Minyel of Madrigas Rayim, and the Meshamena. Though it says in Tanya, who is this person that could even dare to get close to understand even 1,000 of the level of the Rayim Ahem, the faithful shepherd Moshe Rabbeinu. So how can we try to learn a lesson from Moshe? But because it says in another Perek in Tanya that every Yid has a little bit of a Moshe Rabbeinu in him, so every Yid could reach a small drop of Moshe Rabbeinu's level. So whatever we find by Moshe, we could apply it to every Yid. Where do we see this similar of no changes by Moshe, that we find that by Yid as a lesson to a Yid? This could be the meaning of what the Chazal say. If someone forgets even one thing of his learning, the Torah considers it as if he is mischayben, he loses his life. Why should be this the punishment for a person? All he did forgot one thing. So when you talk about it, could be that he remembers the whole Torah. Besides that one thing. Is that so terrible that you say Mischai benafshe? Saying it for the Biurim, that one of the explanations is by Yidden, darfen die Torah nicht gewinnen sein Etzem. By Yidden, Torah has to be their essential existence. So too that so much so that every word of Torah affects his essential existence. Und the Rebbe, therefore, the mere fact that he forgot one thing of Torah, whatever he forgot, whatever little bit he forgot, he has to affect him, break his essence of his existence, which means as if he gives up his life, it means it affects his full life. So that's been the one word of Torah. But there says, same thing in time. Person, every second of his life has to be connected to Torah. The Rebbe, therefore, therefore, Yid doesn't learn Torah. But 1 second that he could learn and he didn't, the Pasuk says it doesn't Tanya, it brought down the Tanya from the Gemara, he gets cut off. For missing one moment of Torah, get cut off. If you miss 1 minute, if it's your Metzias, there's not limited to time. Do is not pale. The Kamus Azman was erot farfel to learn, and we're not talking. It's not the amount of time he missed. The etzem zachas is a durcharege when it is not given verbunden mit Torah. The fact that a moment passed that you're not connected to, and you could have been connected, because if you couldn't have been, not your fault. But if you could have been, you're not. It should affect your etzem nefesh. Al der Zeh is Benegea to all in Yonifnishkeit. Till now he said it Benegea, a word of Torah. The other one is a moment of Torah. And here's everything in Yiddishkeit. So too, by Yidden darf sein der Inye von Avodas Hashem, nichkik in sein Metzias. Serving Hashem has to be carved into his essence, in his existence. Isaiah, the cleansed Rinja from Avodas Hashem, so much so that the smallest thing of Avodas Hashem, afila digdur kal shadir sofrim, even a small mitzvah that the Rabbanan said, or that afila minigas, even a Jewish custom, that from Zayin Negei b'nefesh has to affect your nefesh. Bizas eber fafelt kasasholom afila dover echad. Even if you miss a small thing, afila dover achikal, the lightest thing, peltes and mashvire b'chumus, it breaks. Mischai b'nashim, it breaks you. When those gufe, and this fact that you know that you missed something, and the Mela breaks you, you feel bad about it, bring him to Mesa Hanavation. That'll bring to add in Avodas Hashem. In a Neifna as a field for Yeder Inyan Table, Sertut is Mesa and Etzamachayt. You start feeling that every good thing you do adds a little bit more to your life, to your essence of your life. It brings Dveikus and Mechaya Chaim connected to the life, the one that gives life, which is the Mokher HaChaim, the source of life. That the Pasuk says, Va'atem adveikim Hashem Elokeichem, you are connected to Hashem, your God. Chayim kul chamayim, you're all living today. And the Rebbe stresses the word Chayim kul chamayim. I think maybe, I'm just saying it, that why is this stressed here? Because it's also connected to the Sinyan. When is the life really life? When all the Yidden have. Chayim kul chamayim. It's a remes that's also part that should be connected to all the Yidden. But this is the connection to what Moshe Rabbeinu, the last thing that the Rebbe said by Moshe Rabbeinu is that the fact that he was missing one thing that affected his whole Metzias in his level of his being the Nossi and the leader, saying by every year that should affect the person's nefesh, and every little bit of Torah, in words of Torah, and time of Torah, and mitzvahs, is negated to the Etzem HaNefesh.